Good morning, Bodhisattvas and Buddhas. So it's very nice to give this talk this morning. This talk is based on some sections of this book, Zen Seeds, Reflections of a Female Priest. And her name is Shunto Aoyama Roshi. And she is the head priest of a training center for female Soto priests in Japan. She's now a venerable woman in her late 80s. And she has written over 40 books, and she's very popular among Japanese readers. She's a venerable woman. In the selected sections of her book for this talk, Roshi Aoyama based her teachings on Dogen Senji Tenso Kyokun, which has been translated as instructions to the cook. I'm participating in a series of talks for the Somarango for the New York Zen Center for Contemplative Care, and I have been assigned the following sections of Zen Seeds, which are: the monk's mouth is like a stove, a cheerful attitude, and parental mind. I feel very lucky that I was assigned these sections. And they fit so well with this retreat. I mean, it's amazing. And this had been given to me like a month ago. And it's just as if I would have chosen it purposely for this retreat. So the monk's mouth is like a stove. It's a saying that Master Dogen mentions in his Tenso Kyokun when he says, in cultivating the germ of aspiration to live out the way, as well as in practicing the Dharma, delicacies and ordinary tastes are the same and not two. There is an old saying, the monk's mouth is like a stove. End of quote. This saying, the monk's mouth is like a stove, comes from a text of the Tendai school of Buddhism, in which Dogen first studied. In this text, Katyayana Sondya, a disciple of Shakyamuni Buddha, was invited to a great feast by a king, and the king had a great feast and a banquet, and he wanted to impress the monks. But there were also some more ordinary dishes, in this banquet. And when the monk came, he just ate ordinary dishes and maybe some delicacies, but he really didn't show any special interest for the delicacies that the king thought were going to impress the monk. And finally, the king couldn't take it any longer and said, "Why do you treat my food like that?" And he said, the monk's mouth is like a stove. So let's look at that. Aoyama Roshi writes in Zen Seeds, a stove takes anything. It has no likes and dislikes. It burns alike the smoothest wood and the thorniest branches in order to steam rice, cook vegetables, or heat bath water. All experiences enrich and purify us spiritually and physically. Joy, sorrow, failure, success, love, and hate all go into the stove of life. We should accept all our experiences and use them to benefit ourselves and other people. A stove that rejects hateful things will not burn well, and no meals can cook on it. So everyone has a stove in their haras. Every one of you have a stove in your haras. Breathing in and out from the hara, we can light up that fire. So when we breathe in and out from our hara, without expectations, really, because expectations really mess everything. We always have to give our expectations away. We just do it with whole heart and forget about expectations, forget about time, what's going to happen if I do this, all of those things. We just breathe. We just concentrate in the breathe, breathing in and out from our hara, and we let all thoughts go. We just come back to the breathing in and out from the hara over and over and over and over again. And at some point, that fire in the hara lightens up on its own whenever it's ready. And then it really burns everything. It burns good thoughts, bad thoughts, emotions, half-formulated thoughts. It burns anything. And transforms me. And everything gets transformed into the clear light of samadhi. This saying, the monk's mouth is like a stove, reminds me of my first 7-day retreat when I went to Tepoztlan, Mexico, with a friend to a retreat that was led by the legendary Roshi Ilia. He was legendary as a very strict Zen teacher. But before going to Mexico, we stopped in Guatemala, and there I was really badly bitten by fleas. And I got to the retreat with all these flea bites, and then I'm sitting in this strict, like, ringside Zen center where you were not allowed to move an inch, nothing. And it was my first 7-day retreat. And God, I thought I was gonna die there. Maybe I did, actually. And I tried to escape. I mean, the first day was just scheming, how could I get out of there? Maybe if I jump the fence, maybe if I do that or that. But, you know, we were in the middle of nowhere in Tepoztlan, Mexico, and I didn't have a car, and my ride was not going to escape with me. So, you know, I had to stay there, and I couldn't scratch. So for the first time in my life, I have to listen to the instructions of the monitors. And the monitors were not nice monitors. You know, we're very lucky to have kind monitors here. But the monitors at those times, you know, if I would have started moving and doing things like that, they would have maybe admonished me one, and the second time I was out of there, they would have kicked me out of there without any consideration. So I had to listen to instructions. And that was my only relief. You know, the instructions really helped me to forget the self, just to do the breathing in and out of my hara, my koan. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who is itching? Who's this terrible pain? Who? Day and night. Who? And then the fire in my hara was lightened, and it was wonderful because it could burn everything. All my trauma, and maybe not all, but a lot of it got burned. It was just more wood for the stove in my hara. So to forget the self, like Dogen says, like his famous saying says, was my only relief. And more I enter into the path that this koan, who, and my breathing were opening in and out of my hara, breathing in my hara and breathing out from my hara during 4 days. Suddenly I experienced how my lower abdomen had turned into an oven. After that experience, I can say now that the practitioner's belly is like an oven. And I didn't have to scratch the flea bites anymore, and they healed quickly. Then later on, I heard about the practice of tumo, and I heard that Tibetan monks practice this tumo, and they lighten the fire in their haras. And they do it to an extent that they actually can sit in freezing temperatures in the snow and burn the snow on them. So I didn't practice that to that extreme, but to the extreme that really helps with just my regular neurotic mind all the time. And this time I look at the word tumo in the dictionary, and it says that in Tibetan Buddhism, tumo is the fierce goddess of heat and passion. So you have one of them in each of your bellies. We cannot get away from the goddess. This is everywhere. In Instructions to the Cook, Dogen says, in choosing the rice and vegetables to be used, those working under the tenso, listen to this, those working under the tenso should offer sutras to the spirit of the kamado, and that's the stove in the kitchen before cooking. Imagine that, huh? Before preparing any food, you guys, reciting sutras to the spirit of the stove in the kitchen. Maybe it will work better because it's failing sometimes. Actually, everything under the sky, rocks, rivers, houses, in other words, the non-sentient has its own energy or spirit, but most of the time, this energy is too subtle for our busy minds to perceive. Dear Master Tosan was enlightened when he heard the Dharma of the insentient, and when this happened, he exclaimed, "Wonderful, wonderful! The preaching of the Dharma by the non-sentient is inconceivable. If you try to hear it with your ears, it's hard to understand. When you hear with your mind's eye, then you know it." And this is true. This is true. This is true. But our mind has to be so still, so quiet, so quiet. In the Tenso Kyokun, or Instructions to the Cook, like I said before, Master Dogen mentions Zen Masters Tosan and Isan as two great Zen Masters who worked as tensos. Master Isan has been one of my most dear Zen heroes. He was always a great inspiration for me. He was an enlightened man who worked in the kitchen of Master Gyakuyu Monastery before becoming his successor. Isan had no interest in power and was really happy in the kitchen. And because of this fact, when Gyakuyu presented him with a Zen koan-like question, he didn't fall in the trap that the question presented. Because he was truly, truly happy in the kitchen, didn't care about power, and he was in a hurry to return to his duties in the kitchen. So when the master calls him, he's like, "Oh no, I have to leave my kitchen. Okay, I go." So Kwan 40 of Muman Kwan says, kicking over the water picture. Read this way. Yakuyo wanted to choose an abbot for Dai-I monastery. He told the head monk and all the rest of his disciples to make their Zen presentations, and the ablest one would be sent to found the monastery. Then Yakuyo took a picture, placed it on the floor, and asked the question, "This must not be called a picture. What do you call it?" The head monk said, it cannot be called a wooden sandal, which is a very intelligent thing to say. And he would probably have won the contest if it had not been because Isan, who was in a hurry to get to the kitchen and really didn't care anything about the pantomime that the teacher was putting up, just woke up, just give it a little push to the picture. They said a kick, but I think it just was just a little push with his foot. And he allowed the picture to become what it is. All the water fell from the picture, just run out. And before Isan could leave, he grabbed him and said, the head monk had been defeated by Isan. Isan was ordered to start a monastery. He's like, okay. Well, and then Master Mumon's poem on this incident says, which is so beautiful. I mean, some of these poems in the Mumon canon are so beautiful. I mean, really changed my life, these poems, especially, in the Mumon canon. So you do first the miscellaneous koans, so then you learn to work with more simple koans, so then you can enter the Mumon Kan, which is the greatest koan book, that says, throwing away bamboo baskets and wooden ladles, with a direct blow he cuts off complications. Yakuyo tries to stop him with his strict barrier, but in vain. The tip of his toe, of his foot, create innumerable Buddhas, because then he had like many disciples. So that's why it says the tip of his toes, when he make that picture become what it is, a picture, created innumerable Buddhas. So Master Isan genuinely embodied the heart of the Tenso Kyokun. Many centuries before this was written. So there is a whole tradition of Tensos. In the next section, Roshi Aoyama writes, as part of my practice of gratitude, I had once the duty of being a cook for the length of a sesshin. Every day from 4 in the morning until 9 at night, I worked in the kitchen. One time when the dishes came back from the meditation hall, I was disturbed to find 2 with some food left in them. Knowing that our practice forbids the waste of food, I wondered what had happened. I looked carefully and found in both dishes a vegetable fragment with a dead insect on it. This is also, no, this is not. In instructions to the cook, Dogen writes, first of all, check to see whether there are any insects, peas, rice bran, or tiny stones in the rice, and if so, carefully winnow them out. And there is this wonderful story, maybe some of you know, I hope not many know it, that one day at the monastery of Fugai Ekun, the morning ceremonies were delayed. There were more ceremonies than usual, and so the Tenso was late in the preparation of his noon meal. So the man had to, when the ceremonies were over, the man had to hurry up. He has to start with collecting the vegetables in the garden. So he took his sickle and gathered some vegetables to make a vegetable soup, and run with all the vegetables to the kitchen, throw them in the boiling water, and he mastered to have the food in time. And the monks thought that was the most delicious soup they ever had tasted. And suddenly the Roshi calls the Tenso. Tenso, come here. So the Tenso comes. And the Roshi says, what's this? And shows him the head of a snake. So in his hurry, the Tenso have chopped the head of a snake and inadvertently have thrown it in the pot. And the Tenso goes, oh, thank you, Roshi. And he ate it. And it's just a wonderful story because he didn't get in any trouble. He gave everyone a great lesson of equanimity and also of non-aversion to the head of a snake. He had nothing to defend, and he then reacted to the accusation of the teacher. So that shows how advanced that Tenso was. This story is called Eating the Blame. At the end of this section, Parental Mind, Roshi Aoyama writes, Zen Master Yen Yung of Paoning said, use the property and possessions of the community as carefully as if they were your own eyes. I mean, this is some saying. I want to repeat it. Zen Master Yen Yung of Paoning said, and this is how this Roshi, this head priest, is training this Soto Zen female priest. She's telling them, use the property and possessions of the community as carefully as if they were your own eyes. Can you connect with that action? How would you treat your own eyes? Could you imagine? Here, take your eyes. How would you treat it? Oh my God, my eyes. You will be most careful with your eyes. And she's saying to treat all the properties of the temple like that. And this quote, it seems that being taken from the Tenso Kyokun, is a bit different the way that Dogen says it. Dogen says it this way. After the noon meal, the Tenso should go to get the rice, vegetables, and other ingredients for the following morning and noon meals. Once he had these, he must handle them as carefully as if they were his own eyes. So, in terms of Kyokun, Dogen is saying to treat any ingredient for the preparation of food as it were your own eyes. But Master Yung Pen says, anything that belongs to the temple should be treated with the same care and respect. This expresses so much caring, such tenderness. How would you treat your own eyeballs? You know, when you wash your eyeballs, how would you wash your own eyeballs? we would be so extraordinarily careful with them. And this is how Dogen says we should handle the ingredients for the meals, but also all the possessions of the community. And Dogen uses similar statements throughout the Tenso Kyokun. For example, when he writes, "Keep your eyes open. Do not allow even a grain of rice to be lost." Not even a grain of rice to be lost. Wash the rice thoroughly. Put it in the pot. Light the fire and cook it. There is an old saying, "See the pot as your own head." Wow! See the pot as your own head. How would you treat your own head? Here, your head. Here, take it. How would you treat your own head? But it doesn't apply just to the pot. It's applied to the dishes, to the forks, to the tables, to the counters, to the floors, to the chairs, to everything, to everything. Treat everything as it were your own head. And in the next quote, Dogen says, "Handle even a single leaf of a green in such a way that it manifests the body of a Buddha." This in turn allows the Buddha to manifest through the leaf. This is a power that you cannot grasp with your rational mind. It operates freely according to the situation in a most natural way. When we treat everything with such a care, we allow the Buddha to manifest in everything we do. And this is a power that the rational mind cannot comprehend. So in doing this kind of work, you have to forget the self. And it's only wiping the counters, cleaning the dishes, putting the pot in the fire. And this power operates freely according to the situation in a most natural way. The Tenso Kyokun expresses the very tender and genuinely caring heart of Dogen. This is really, in this work, is where I really can feel the heart of Dogen. I haven't felt really the heart of Dogen in other works, but here I really feel it, and he was an inspiration for me when I was a Tenso for the Great Mountain Center for more than 20 years. So yeah, I could feel his heart, and his teachings were so wonderful. They were my guide, these teachings. So expresses the very tender and genuinely caring heart of Dogen and the enlightened heart of caring for the three treasures. This kind of attitude towards the preparation of food and the possessions of the temple can be applied to everything in our lives, because it is the actualization of forgetting the self and being enlightened by the 10,000 things. We can extend the same kind of care to everything in our life, whether it is driving our car, cleaning the kitchen, cleaning the Zen center, changing the children's diaper, bathing your children, buying groceries, taking care of your clients. So it can apply to everything in our life. And I'm getting to the last section here, cheerful attitude. Roshi Aoyama tells us the story about a cleaning lady who possessed the joyful mind or cheerful attitude. The president of a certain company had trouble with employees writing graffiti in the bathrooms. He admonished them, he threatened them, and the graffiti would not stop until one day there was a note in the bathrooms that said, "Please don't dirty my good workplace with your graffiti." Oh. The cleaning lady transmitted the love, joy, and enthusiasm she felt for the work she did, and the graffiti stopped. The cleaning lady really knew the value of work and loved it, even if it was cleaning the bathrooms. There is a story about a man who died and went to a realm of leisure and indulgence. A butler tended to all his needs. He could just sit in a lazy boy and he could watch all the Netflix movies that he wanted. He could have all the ladies, the most beautiful ladies that he wanted, anything. The drinks, he was served the fantastic meals, everything. He could have everything. So he thought he was in heaven for sure. And then one day he was just tired of the same thing. He could have everything. He got tired of having everything. So he asked the butler, "Is there anything I can do around here? Because if this is heaven, I'd rather be in hell." And the butler said, "Where do you think you are, sir?" The man in the story thought of heaven as a realm of leisure and indulgence. And when he got bored of that life and he asked if he could do something, he realized that he was in a hellish realm. How precious it is that we can take refuge in our work, forget the self, and be enlightened by the 10,000 things. Dogen says, "Rejoice in your birth into the world, where you are capable of using your body freely to offer food for the three treasures, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Considering the innumerable possibilities in a timeless universe, we have been given a marvelous opportunity. Working for the benefit of others benefits oneself." Adapting this quote of Dogen to our present-day climate situation, it could read this way. At this time of planetary crisis and tremendous human and animal suffering, we can rejoice into our birth into the world, where we have a capable body that we can use to work for the benefit of our planet and all sentient beings everywhere. Considering the innumerable possibilities in a timeless universe, we have been given a marvelous opportunity. The merit of working for the benefit of others will never decay. Working for the benefit of others benefits oneself. And that is so true. When we break through the ego, that separate realm of suffering, we realize that everyone is our true self. Everyone and everything is our true self. And Dogen continues, my sincerest desire is that you exhaust all the strength and effort of all your lives, past, present, and future, and every moment of every day into your practice through the work of the Tenso, so that you form a strong connection with the Buddha Dharma, everything as it is. To view all things with this attitude is called a joyful mind. Adapting this paragraph to the current planetary crisis, it will read this way. My I don't know how to say that word very well. Sincerest?
Sincerest.
Oh, thank you. Listen to Roshi. Again?
Sincerest.
Desire is that you exhaust all the strength and effort of all your lives, past, present, and future, and every moment of every day into the practice of helping with the planetary crisis, so that you form a strong connection with your enlightened heart and the Buddha Dharma of these unprecedented times. To view all things with this attitude is called a joyful mind. Oh, wow. Ah, I love instructions to the cook so much. Oh, it's just so beautiful. So deep and tender, It takes a lot of practice, to do things like that. To not separate from things. To forget the self when we are cleaning the bathrooms, sweeping the entrance. There are many opportunities to forget the self. And the instructions that we give is so that you can have that opportunity to forget the self. And Roshi and I have spent, let's say, 30 years of our life building a previous Zen center, building this Zen center, and it just had taken so much work. And we still, at our age, we do so much work. We have a maintenance guy. He only does half of the work that this place requires, And there were some people that came to see me the first day of the retreat, or the second, or the third, I don't remember. And they were crying. They were crying of gratitude for the beauty of this place, for the beauty, for the animals, for the birds, for all the wildlife that had come to this place that was a barren land, This was barren land. And with all of our care, tender care, and forgetting the self, it has turned into an animal sanctuary, a bird refuge. In the morning, I just see rabbits, squirrels, and birds of all kinds, a family of dogs, all eating together in harmony. What a precious thing, all eating together in harmony, rabbits, squirrels, birds, and dogs. Maybe at night the other animals come too, because the food seems to disappear faster and faster. And, so we have created, before I would like to say a Garden of Eden here, but now I see it more like the Pure Land. And the people that came here for the first time could see that, and they were crying of gratitude to be here in this beautiful, beautiful place where they could practice. But it's amazing also how with our projection, even the Pure Land turns into a land of suffering. So we have to decide what we want. Do we want to see this place of the Pure Land and take the opportunity to practice here and, look at our projections and our conditioning and take the instructions to heart? There are opportunities to help you with your conditioning and your projections. So you can support Roshi and I in continuing to being here because we are getting older and older. And if the work that we give our life for turn out to help many people, It's our joy to continue this work. But if the opposite happens, this place will not last very long. That I can assure you. Please take heed. You know what to do. And I hope to take the opportunity of the last 2 days of retreat to heart, and that you might follow Dogen's advice from his pure heart, and that you can manifest yourself as the Buddha Dharma.